Third hour of the show, last show of the week. Let's wrap up this fantastic week on the Elias Macko Show. We begin with author Garry Clement. He's former director of organized crime investigations at the RCMP, and he's just released a new book. It's called Undercover: Inside the Shady World of Organized Crime and the RCMP. Garry, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
So a lengthy, long career inside the RCMP includes stints battling drugs in Montreal. Tell us about why you decided to write this book.
Well, it's something that I've been encouraged to write by a lot of authors, investigative journalists. They've known me for many years, and I've been a spokesperson for a lot of various news media over the years, mainly because I think my undercover, I did an undercover operation. Actually, I did three of them. And the one I did in the 80s actually tied back to a book that I know some people within your hearing area will have recall as The Canadian Connection by Joseph Charbonneau. And that talked about, some of Catroni, Lucien Rivard, and people like that. Well, I infiltrated the whole West Coast group that was tied to them. And it was, it led to obviously a contract having to live under protection for over 18 months. But it got me thinking after that, and that's where I got into the financial crime arena, realizing that if we don't go after the money, we're wasting our time, because that flash in the pan one day of they'll just have media come in, take a picture of all the drugs we seized and the arrest, wasn't achieving anything. Sadly, we had the right, I think, approach at the time in the RCMP of going after it with an integrated model involving our policing partners, municipal, provincial, and prosecutors, customs. That fell apart. And since that's fallen apart, as you know, I believe the timing is right now, and that's why I wanted the book out now. As a country, we need to come to an understanding that we need a strong federal force, and we need to look at our legislation so that we can tackle transnational organized crime and terrorist financing, because we are failing miserably and getting I would say, a very poor reputation with our partners, both south of the border and elsewhere.
So can you just on that subject, give us some examples here of how, pardon the pun, how the RCMP is handcuffed in that in wanting to follow the money and doing more investigations compared to how some counterparts around the world can do things.
Well, to start off, first of all, there isn't the resources, and anybody that followed the Cullen Commission will know that came out very strongly. And I think a report just came out from Parliament, talked about federal policing, which is the group that should be tackling all this, is about 700 positions short. And that's been the downfall of the RCMP, because they haven't had the resources, so they've ended up getting away with a lot of the specialist units. I don't think, and I may stand to be corrected, but I don't believe there's been a successful criminal code money laundering prosecution in this country, which should tell you that obviously there's something wrong with either the legislation or the ability to go out and do this. On top of that, what we're looking at today is that because there is so few officers actually working in this area, we became that weak link, and that came out in spades at the Cullen Commission, showing that we're ineffective. And because we're ineffective, we're attracting transnational organized crime. We are attracting, and what's really come out, and it's something that we need to wake up to, the amount of Chinese influence in this country should shock people if they actually read it and understood it, because we are under tremendous pressure by China. We've allowed them to infiltrate our country, and we need to get a handle on it, because it is impacting, in my view, it's impacting our democracy. The fentanyl crisis that we have directly linked back to China. They're the supplier precursors And you look at it, why haven't they stopped it? They're a communist country. They should be able to stop that overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe there's a will to do it because it helps.
They certainly don't want to stop it in other countries. We're with Garry Clement, a former director of organized crime investigations at the RCMP. So Garry, to that end, it seems to me like this would be a political slam dunk. Like Canadians would be completely in favor if politicians were to say to them, hey, we need to toughen our RCMP to go after money launderers and those responsible for the fentanyl crisis and those who are trying to influence our politics. I think you'd get like 80-90% approval. So what's missing here? Is it a lack of political will?
It definitely is lack of political will. I've appeared before the House of Commons probably on 3 previous occasions when Mr. Ignatius, the Liberals were in opposition at that time. I briefed their whole caucus, and they're just it doesn't seem to be a vote getter. Nobody's doing it, and yet, from my perspective, very much like what you just said, this is motherhood and apple pie. This shouldn't be anything that anybody be offended by except criminals. We've got to get a handle on this. I mean, we really have sullied our reputation internationally, and we're starting to be viewed. I think if the U.S. was honest, and I have spoke to a number of fairly senior people, that is starting to look at Canada as being a country of concern. Well, we got to stop that. I mean, to show how bad it is, if you look at what's going on right now in the unfortunate situation in Israel and Palestine, but Canada is a funder of Hamas. And, I don't think that's a reputation we want as a country. It's been going on a long time, and we just haven't been able to, or it just hasn't been worked on to nip it in the bud.
How are we? Can you tell us? Just expand upon that. So how are we funding Hamas?
Well, there's charities out there that should be investigated, and one of the big ones that people don't really pay much attention to is vehicles. The number of vehicles that are stolen in this country, and a lot of those vehicles, not a lot of them, but a fair number of those vehicles that are being stolen finance terrorism. They're sold by these groups. So these are the type of things that we got to get a handle on. We know our ports have been infiltrated by organized crime. It was that way in the 70s, and it hasn't improved one bit. I remember when Julian Scherer wrote the book, The Road to Hell, about that outlaw motorcycle gangs. One of the things he asked me, came and interviewed me, and he wanted to know what my view was of them. My view, I said, is that it's the collective North American law enforcement's failure. Because in the 70s, I watched them, these street criminals grow into this multinational organized crime group that they are today. Those groups we got to start to get a handle on, and we need things to look at. How do we do it? How do we do it effectively? How is other countries doing it? Let's solve those or fill those gaps in where it doesn't work in Canada. We need to have our lawyers brought in under the money laundering regime. I know it's gone to the Supreme Court, and they feel that it's sacrosanct because it's against solicitor-client privilege. But I can tell you, and I've been doing this for over 50 years, in my experience, money laundering cannot occur without the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers happen to be accountants, lawyers, and bankers.
Garry, listen, I think you've opened up a lot of eyes, and I think you'll have a lot of people turning pages with your new book. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
That's Garry Clement, and the book is called Undercover: Inside the Shady World of Organized Crime and the RCMP. It's just come out.